in, you're going to sign in with your login name and your password.
Which I will create for you guys.
When Breeze opens, you get this screen right here. These systems need a daily calibration, which I believe Heather and Melissa are going to take care of for you guys, so you don't have to calibrate it. When we look at the icons on the top, I kind of think of these as administrative type functions. And then once we get a patient open, the tabs that will be on the bottom are patient information and testing tabs. So this yellow folder with the arrow coming out, when I click on that, that's going to open up my patient list. So as you perform tests on patients, it's going to populate onto this list. So the first thing that I would start with is searching to see if the patient has had a test on this device. Now these are standalone devices, meaning that if a patient had a test on this device and you go to look for them on that device, you're not going to find them until they have a test on that device. Okay. So start by an ID number. Always use your patient medical record number.
So that's our MRN number.
So I can just type something in there. When I click on the find, if the patient is found, it will highlight their name and have them up there. If they're not found, it's going to tell you we didn't find anybody by that name. I'll say okay, and then I'm going to cancel here, and then I'm going to click on new right over here. If the patient has had a test before, which your CF patients most likely will have had testing done before, once you start seeing them and using this device, you highlight them here on the list and then you click open. So for now, I'm going to go to new. And in Breeze, all of these turquoise fields are required fields. You have to enter data in those fields. Obviously, last name. Does anybody want to be my first patient? Okay.
Oh, go for it. I'll be first patient.
Okay. What's your
Perez. Perez.
and first name? I'll just put your first initial.
J.
But normally I would recommend that you are entering your patient's full name. I don't know that middle name is necessary unless you have a ton of John Smiths or Wens or Fans or, whatever common names are. ID, again, that is your MRN number. So, but for you, Ms. Perez, I'm going to use your last name and your first initial. Now, date of birth is a 2-digit, 4-digit.
06/03/2005.
And then just for staff, as you are practicing and doing testing on staff, I'm going to check this biological QC subject. I'm not going to select that for real patients. Okay?
Will we select anything for real patients?
No.
Okay.
And then race, that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't know what your other device options you had for race. For here we have Caucasian, Black, Hispanic, which are all pretty straightforward. We have Asian, Northeast Asian, Southeast Asian, and other. So for the Asians, you all understand the difference between those categories. That river in China divides the Northeast from the Southeast. Typically, patients are or their parents are gonna know kind of where they come from. So if you choose Asian, it's an average of the two. Other, I know you guys have a lot of Native Americans here. I'd probably choose other for them. In the background, it's going to link to the Caucasian predicteds. And so let's talk a minute about predicteds. There are 4 demographic values that determine what your predicted values are. That's their age based on their date of birth, their race, their birth gender, and their height. Okay? Weight, you will enter weight, but that is not one of the demographics that determines what their predicted values are. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have a policy about, some places just use other for everybody.
No, so we try to, if we know their race, we try to, if it's not in the chart. I think we've been very good if it asked on there, right?
Yeah, normally it populates it on there already.
But if
But
it
if it
doesn't,
doesn't-
let's
Sometimes
try
it doesn't, we
to.
look for it.
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
look
if
for
it
in the
doesn't,
chart.
then we input it in there.
And then some families don't want, they don't want to identify.
And if they don't, we'll do other.
Okay. So when it comes to Hispanic,
Proud of you, see?
when it comes to sex, we have male, female, and unspecified. You should be choosing their birth gender or gender assigned at birth, and that's if you have to ask, if it's not already noted in the chart, just simply asking what was your gender assigned at birth or what's your birth gender. Just get comfortable asking the question the exact same way every time, because the more comfortable you are in asking the question, the more comfortable they will be in answering it. If they push back and say, I don't want to tell you, and just explain the science. The reason why that's important is because it's about their thoracic volume size. So typically a male anatomy will have a larger volume than a female anatomy. So, I mean, you can change a lot of things with gender reassignment surgery, but you can't change your lung volume. So that's kind of what that's about. Female?
Yep.
And then, I don't want to make any assumptions.
That's right.
You know, and a lot of medical record these days will have their gender assigned at birth as well as what they choose to identify as. If they're adamant about having some kind of notation that I'm one gender or the other identifies as, you can comment about that in your comments somewhere and say patient identifies as whatever gender they identify as. And then once you get that information in there, we're going to come into the clinic by coming through the yellow door in the brick wall. So we're going to add a visit. We're seeing this patient today. So at this point, this is where we're going to enter the height and the weight. And it's set for inches and pounds, but I can change it to centimeters and kilograms if that's how you guys manage your patients.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what's your height? Do you know how tall inches you are?
No, not inches. I just know 5 feet.
5 feet is 60 inches?
60 inches. Yeah.
Okay. And weight,
Cover yours.
120?
No, 140.
She said 120. That's what we're going with.
I mean, when I'm in training, typically, you know, everybody weighs 120 or 130. Nobody likes to be put on the spot. If you want to enter a referring doctor who's ordering this test, you could click here. Right now, we haven't added any physicians' names. But as you add your providers in here, they will populate on this list. You can sort through the list by just typing like the first or second letter of their last name, and it will jump you to that place in the list, alphabetized list, and then you can scroll and choose from there. If, like right now, we don't have any, if you're adding somebody on the fly, you can click on this new button right here, and it brings you to this area, and you're only going to complete this side of the form. So last name, and I would definitely probably put their...
I don't want anybody adding them on the fly. I would like them to give me the provider's information and then let me
And I
add
don't
them.
believe that I don't believe technicians have the right to add providers,
Okay.
to add staff. So
Okay.
just your admin people will be able to do that.
Okay.
So just so you know, Melissa, and I would put in again last name, comma, MD, DO, nurse practitioner, NP, PA, whatever their credential is.
So if you're doing a spirometry and there's not a provider listed or a referring provider, you're going to let me know and I'll get in and I'll add them.
As far as ID, if you have their employee number, you can do that. Otherwise, I would use their last name, first initial.
Okay.
So the ID field is actually alpha or numeric.
Okay.
All of our patients, we use their MRN. As far as this field right here where it says interpretation type, I would choose this ATS standard interpretation, the middle option. And you guys did order pulmonary consult. Do you currently use that, or is that going to be new for you guys?
That's new. The pulmonary, right, Heather?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so when you add your providers in here, you're definitely going to want to add your providers and then choose that ATS standards
Okay.
comment. So when they run the consult, it will make the interpretation based on the ATS standards.
Okay, that's what
Okay.
you want.
Okay. So then just like adding staff, save, close, and brings you right back here.
Okay.
Okay, so if you did add somebody on the fly now, I could click on this drop down arrow and their name would be there
Okay.
to add. And as far as, so when whoever's logged into Breeze, your name will show up under technician. So once you guys get your own logins, you'll see that. Here, you guys, this is your site. Here where it says pulmonary or PF predicted, GX is a graded exercise test, so you don't have the ability to do that, so you're not going to worry about that. PF predicted, the default is GLI, like we talked about. You probably shouldn't have to worry about that for your 8 patient population. The limits to the GLI predicteds are usually at the high end of the age range, so spirometry, they didn't publish predicteds over the age of 95. So just to know that that's a limitation. We can customize predicted sets if you need something customized, or a physician says, oh, I want this particular author or whatever. We can customize that. I probably won't go through that with you today because that's probably not likely, but if you hire on the new Brainiac pulmonologist and they're like up on the latest research and everything and they want something, just call our tech support number and they'll help you customize that. Okay. Here, account number, all of these fields are not mandatory. If for some reason you wanted to identify what room a patient was in, for some reason you could enter it there, but it's not, like I said, mandatory. So now you'll see down here that we have patient information in here. Again, this patient history is optional. I would guess that you probably aren't completing this on your patients, entering smoking history, symptoms of dyspnea, cough.
We are.
Are you? Okay. So smoking,
Narrator window, close, button. Heading level 1, new Warren Clinic Pediatric Pulmonology. Warren Clinic Pediatric Pulmonology.
Do what?
Especially the
Am I
sick
record-
kids, because
am
we
I
have to put
recording
it on the
myself?
foundation.
Yes.
Live captions window, yes, continue, button. Do you want no, go back, button. Close Warren Clinic Pediatric Pulmonology. Docs, word window, Warren Clinic Pediatric Pulmonology. Docs,